Hello. This is going to be a 1-hour presentation on Possibility Wave, a new company, giving a bit of an introduction to the company itself, as well as to Information Coded Biofeedback and a new program called Adapt Wellness. I'm Garnet Dupuis. I'm your presenter today, and I'm doing this presentation in my home up in the mountain rainforest of northern Thailand. Excuse me. It's an extraordinary place. I love it, and I'm hoping that the background sound of the stream that runs right by the house is not going to be a problem. All the windows are closed. I'm the co-founder of Possibility Wave, and I'm the creative designer. It's my responsibility to come up with the concepts and content of programs and to design the functional and feature dynamics. I love the work. It's fascinating, it's inspiring, it's satisfying, and hopefully, of course, it helps people. So, Possibility Wave. It's a new company, and it's dedicated to the design and development and marketing of information coded biofeedback applications and programs. That means it's a good deal of software, but it also has a number of interesting and important hardware components depending on which application you're working with. We'll be talking a good deal about information coded biofeedback, by the way. All of the applications and programs from Possibility Wave are completely original. They have unique designs and step one, square one programming. We're very proud of the originality, the uniqueness. It's been quite a task, and the task won't end for quite a while. There's a good deal of pleasure in it, of course. Fascinating is the way that the technology is evolving rapidly, and of course, everything that we do can be easily installed and used on a laptop, but also on the very exciting and really convenient new computer tablets that we have just about everywhere now. All of our products are going to be available in both iOS and Android, so that means that despite the technology that you may prefer, we'll be able to go straight ahead and help you with that. You know, as a kind of a general categorization of the area of our interest in Possibility Wave, it is really hard to constrain down to one category. We're working with the body, the mind, certainly the energetics, and even what we can call the spiritual aspects of a human being. It extends far beyond human beings in the sense that we're dealing with organisms, and even then you could say complex systems. Everything from the simple individual all the way up, I suppose, to ecosystems. Possibility Wave, body, mind, energy, and spirit. This next point is an important one to appreciate. We are not going to have only one program or application. There are going to be a series of them released at different times. And each one of them targets a specific usage domain. You know, I have to admit, with a good background in this industry over the past 15 years or so, and in wellness for my whole adult life, it's very difficult to have one tool that does it all. And attempts to do that, I can see frequently end up in what I would call a patchwork experience. And even, you could say, the 80-20 law frequently applies. What is the 80-20 law? It means 80% of the time you use 20% of the application. And it's just because maybe there's just too much to do in a session, or you don't have expertise in that area. It doesn't fit for the tasks that you have at hand. So what we're doing, and you'll see this a lot more clearly later on in this 1-hour presentation, when we explore a new tool called Adapt Wellness, that when we develop an application and program and its associated hardware, we do it with a specific target use, a certain area, a certain reason, a certain description of why and how a person may want to use it. And correspondingly, because of that, we're able to bring to market these very exciting products at very fair prices. You know, the company Possibility Wave, to me, has a demand to be fair-minded. And part of fair-minding is fair pricing, and part of how we control fair pricing is to develop specific usage domains in our products. This next point, I can just touch upon. You'll learn more about it as you go along, and you can always get in touch with us. We'll be giving you that information at the end of this presentation, but it's very simple. You go to possibilitywave.com, and it's easy to sign up for a constant flow of information and education. But in this case, I want to introduce this thing called the Possibility Platform. This has never been done before, to the best of our knowledge. And what we've done is we've created a cloud-based staging entity for all of the Possibility Wave Information Coded Biofeedback tools. This is extraordinary. This is a first-time tool that lives in the cloud that we'll be giving to you. And any Possibility Wave product, any information coded biofeedback tool that you get from us uses the Possibility Platform as its staging. And what I mean, let's use an analogy. Let's say that you're a musician. Let's say you have a band, and there are a few other bands. There's a concert. It has to be staged, meaning that there is an actual physical stage, a platform, and all the lighting and all the sound and all of the features that allow the band to just come on stage and do what they do. And then another band can follow that using the very same staging entity. So this is Possibility Platform. And the benefits are very, very numerous and attractive, and just a few of them is that it allows you to have internet connection to your programs anywhere in the world. You don't have to lug a box around, or even a tablet if you don't happen to have one. You can go in and do what you need to do through the internet. And also, that's what I call goof-up free storage of all your data. It's easy to have mistakes happen or accidents happen. In this case, all of your data is in the cloud. You can't lose it. Anytime that you connect with the internet, you can re-access it. And any things that you do on your tablet or your PC, when you're offline, when you go online, it all updates. And also, the Possibility Platform gives you the chance to network with practitioners like yourself for information sharing, problem solving. The Possibility Platform is a very exciting, quite a challenging entity to create, but it exists and we're very proud of it. It's what I call the plug and play experience. So once you have the Possibility Platform, any one of our information coded biofeedback tools, and there will be a number of them, the ones that you're attracted to, the ones that you want and you get, will kind of lock right into the Possibility Platform, and away you go. To be clear, because of this capacity for the cloud and the Possibility Platform, it doesn't mean you have to be online to use any one of the tools. You can use them completely offline, as you would in a more standard and more maybe conventional use like you've maybe experienced in the past, but you also have the ability to work online. So online as well as completely offline, it's your choice. You have the capacity. Okay, so that's the brief introduction to the new company called Possibility Wave. The presentation is going to be now in two broad sections. The first section is entitled Information Coded Biofeedback. We have to look at, geez, what does that mean? And then the second section is going to be focusing on the first Possibility Wave product, the first Information Coded Biofeedback application that we're taking to you, and it's called Adapt Wellness. So, first of all, let's talk a bit about Information Coded Biofeedback. You know, it's a bit limiting, if not a mistake, to think of biofeedback only in terms of machines and devices. Complex systems of all sorts, including organisms, like you and me, share information within the system as well as from outside the system. You know, it's dangerous, in my opinion, to make too strong of a dividing line between what is sometimes called inside and outside, within and without. You know, we're open systems. We're not closed systems. And this openness means, for example, right now, even the air that I'm breathing and you're breathing, you know, it's both in my body and outside of my body. It's both at the same time. So the whole principle of biofeedback is that there is a constant sharing of information in systems, and that there isn't a strong demarcation between inside and outside in many cases. And that's why biofeedback as a technology, as a therapeutic approach, works, because all forms of biofeedback, and here I'm talking about the technology, they're designed to slip into this ongoing communication. So it's not as though it makes something happen, it's already happening. And depending on the design of the biofeedback that you're using, the technology, you slip into this ongoing, ever-present communication, almost as though you become part of the system yourself. So, in one way or another, organisms integrate information, energy, and matter into their ongoing activities. Biofeedback processes can be designed to communicate with any one of these levels, any one of these. As a matter of fact, it's a bit artificial. It's a little bit like thinking that in the body there is a respiratory system, and there is a cardiovascular system, and there's a digestive system. You know, we cut it all up. We almost can't resist it. In the West, we have a dominant philosophical perspective. It's usually called reductionism. We just love to take things apart, and thinking that if we can look at the little pieces, we can figure out how they do what they do. Unfortunately, when you take apart a system, the system doesn't exist anymore. But in this case, it's a bit artificial, but we have to accept it philosophically, to separate information, energy, and matter, as though they were three distinctly separate things. We know in these past years, that, you know, the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years, that we've blown apart the concept of matter, because as you go further and further and further into matter, through the molecular level, down to the atomic level, down to the subatomic and the quantic level, what you realize is that, well, geez, little subatomic particles and even the larger protons and electrons, that they're not really things. You know, we have this tendency to reify. They're not really things, they're events, and we can't even say exactly what they are. One of my favorite quotes by Feynman, you know, now passed away, but easily one of the most brilliant scientists, quantum physicists of the recent age, and I may be paraphrasing it, but the quote goes something like this: if a person says they understand quantum physics, it means they don't understand quantum physics. So we have to be humble here. Energy and matter. In this case, in Possibility Wave, we work with the information aspect of the organism. It's a topic so much larger than this short 1-hour introduction can cover. We have to be careful in how we use these terms, not knowing really exactly what they mean. You know, for example, I've, like you, have oftentimes wondered at the extremely liberal usage of the word energy over these past years. And in many cases, the uses are just, they're just not correct. So, information. After all, it's called Information Coded Biofeedback. So, to work with this concept, to work with Information Coded Biofeedback, and certainly to work with Possibility Wave as an organization, as a company, there's a fundamental principle or axiom that you have to understand that we base our work on. It's really foundational to our belief system. And this principle is that awareness is the primary pervasive matrix of all of creation. All of the various aspects of consciousness are modulations of this fundamental awareness. So awareness is, period. You can't get a much more authoritative and clear sentence than that. Awareness is. And everything else that we have in our experiences are derivatives, are expressions, are manifestations of this, including all the different aspects of consciousness. As I mentioned, I'm up here in the mountains in my home, and I have a lot of animals, so I'm noticing that one of my guard dogs is barking. It's nighttime now, so if you hear a little sound, or maybe even the stream, I have to excuse that, I'm sorry. So, what we perceive and categorize as information, energy, and matter are all expressions of this awareness. I don't know if you agree with that or not. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And it's the basis upon which the work in Possibility Wave proceeds. You know, the standard position in our materialistic, scientific philosophy of the age, again, it's a hard one to swallow. I think it's quite depressing, actually. But that they say that life and consciousness is an artifact, that matter is at the heart of it all, and that this matter is quite lifeless, completely unconscious, or you can't even use the word conscious, and that in some kind of way that it assembled together, and nobody can say why or how, and that this thing we call consciousness in life itself is kind of an epiphenomena. It's kind of like the foam on the beer, and that it's in a way, some people even call it an illusion, an excuse, and that they say along with that, it's quite purposeless. We don't agree with that. It's the other way around. Energy and matter evolve out of life and consciousness. So, whether you accept it or not, it's our position, and because of this, we have a rationale as to how the systems and information coded biofeedback work, and how we do our designs, and how the effects take place with the subjects and human beings. So the unifying principle of a matrix of awareness, what does it do? It permits the understanding that there is an unbroken field of conscious communication within all aspects of a system. So you don't have to wonder how can we make this connection? Like, what is the mind-body connection? It's a false question because it's not separated. In all of this unbroken field of conscious communication, the information level is absolutely the most sensitive and the most fluid basis for this interaction. The way that it appears, the way it seems, what it is, I believe, is that information is, in a way, the format of intelligence that comes out of consciousness that is based in awareness. So it's kind of the intelligence that you can think of as information. And that this intelligence is the guiding principle of the behaviors in energy and is the formative principles in matter. So, matter actually is awareness. Energy is awareness. Information is awareness. All the modulated forms of consciousness, they are awareness. And this makes for the ability for an unbroken field of conscious communication. Okay. Things to think about. Certainly things that I think about all the time. I think most of us do in one way or the other. The second fundamental principle of possibility wave and information coded biofeedback is best entitled possible, probable, certain. As is written here, this principle is both precious and profound and warrants a deep and sincere exploration. There'll be future discussions, future presentations, in general, as also part of the education process, where I go much more deeply into possible, probable, certain. When you're working in information coded biofeedback, you use certain elegant processes to explore and assess sets of possibilities. I'll be talking more about it a little bit later on, but what we do is we kind of put these possibilities through like a juicer or filters or some kind of thing as an image, so that we extract from these broad and undifferentiated possibilities highly significant probabilities. This is a really tricky point because it brings into consideration challenging concepts that have always been with humankind and maybe every being in some fashion. It's the issue of change, of chance, and of choice. And the fact that as an event is evolving forward out of the possible into the probable, there are all sorts of probabilities that are equally and actively at play before certainty arises. So we will be looking more at possible, probable, certain. It's one of the keystones of the possibility wave philosophy and one of the keystones of the dynamic design processes in all of our information coded biofeedback tools. As I've already mentioned, you can't start with infinite possibilities because that set is, well, let's just call it way too big. But we can begin with explicit sets of possibilities that you can collect together very reasonably if you have a design where the tasks and targets of the process are focused. That's what I said, that Possibility Wave has a design principle where we design particular applications and programs to focus in certain areas. That gives us the chance to assemble certain very realistic time set possibilities. So then these processes that I'll describe a bit more, they concentrate them, they extract them, And they present them to you as very real and strong considerations. These are the significant probabilities that are emerging forward. What does this mean? Well, it means that you can't just do a process and nail it with certainty, especially when there is an evolution forward, a vector forward, when there's still a future, if you will. So what we do as we harvest these significant probabilities is engage or set in motion what we call the triune correspondence. What is the triune correspondence? Well, triune means three. There are three aspects to this. What it means is that when you're using the programs and you're with a person, a subject, a client, a patient, you have to look very closely at the actual experience of the client. What they're telling you, what they complain of, what their symptoms are, what their lifestyle is like. The actual experience of the client has to be considered. Secondly, the practitioner, the user, the expertise and the intuition of that person, that practitioner, that has experience, that has training, that has opinions, that has intuitions and gut feelings about something that's going on. And then the third thing is the information that is discovered and presented by the information coded biofeedback process, the stuff that shows up on the screen. Never take what shows up on the screen to be an absolute certainty in and of itself, especially if it's only a single thing. That's my opinion, based on a good degree of experience. It's very easy to fall into magical thinking and a very hard and determined, sort of fated decision on something. It's dangerous. That's why you've certainly even in conventional, not only conventional medicine, but in real estate and everything else, it's called the second opinion, the third opinion. If it's an important finding and you're going to base something on it, you better make sure that you look at it from a couple of different perspectives, a couple of different opinions. Bring it forward with wisdom and some amount of patience. Don't jump to conclusions. So this is the triune correspondence, and why we believe it's so critically important to combine this with the presentation of the significant probabilities that arise forward from the assessments. So this whole issue of certainty, uncertainty, it's a big wow. Philosophically, spiritually, in quantum physics, in the non-deterministic areas of things, there is no certainty until actualization takes place. That's something to think about. As a matter of fact, as the probabilities are evolving in a formative fashion, they begin to coalesce, there are still multiple choices in the manifestation. In quantum physics, this is known as superposition, where there are lots of horses in the race, if you will. There are lots of ways to get to Rome. The actualization, that certainty, may not be reached by only one way. I mean, this is, it's a profound issue in the areas of new and evolving quantum biology. When you look at the way the protein molecules configure themselves, change shapes, and how many possible shapes there are. If you do it by mathematics, there are probably as many choices as there are stars in the sky. And yet it ends up finding a formation. And nobody knows how many possible formations are being kind of assessed or selected when it comes down to the actual certain finality. Another way of thinking about it is a horse race. You have a bunch of horses running, that's your set of possibilities. But then, of course, the experts take a good look, the bookies or whatever, and you end up with things called the odds. 10 to 1, 100 to 1, 3 to 5, whatever it is. And around the bend they come, and they're on the way to the finish line, and horse XYZ is in the lead by 10 lengths. It looks like it's certain that he's going to win. Is it? You never know with certainty what horse wins the race until that nose crosses the finish line. Who knows? He could be ahead by 10 lengths and then, you know, crack a bone, or the jockey, I don't know, falls off. You never know for sure. And this is a very wizened position when it comes to working in wellness, and certainly when working with information coded biofeedback. So it's not that certainty is hiding itself. You know, I'm not a fatalist. I don't believe in a fated, predetermined outcome. I don't believe in a hard, fast destiny. I think that there are trends, there are habits, there are vectors, there are tendencies. All these things exist, but there are also so many variables, multiple variables at play that will finally result in the certainty of what we call the here and now. And of course, this is not some kind of far-off, big bang, once-in-a-universe life experience. This is all the time. This is everything all the time. So, the issue of how we work with this stuff. Possibility wave information coded biofeedback tools utilize a discovery process known as the I field assessment. As you might guess, the I is short for information. So, although it's an image, it may not be literally true because nobody really knows, but we'll call it a field. It's this, you know, this vastness without an edge. A field of information that is a manifest aspect of consciousness, of awareness. It's that intelligence of a sort, not cognitive, a different kind of intelligence. It exists. And in Possibility Wave, we use, like an awful lot of other people in so many different aspects of science and industry, we used a form of stochastic testing. This is maybe an unusual word, maybe you know it well, or maybe it's new for you. A stochastic test, a process, is used in an effort to get answers that are expressed in terms of probabilities when there are just so many factors, too many factors to calculate. There's no way that you can get a clearly determined outcome. I suppose the most obvious, the most common for almost all of us is weather reporting, where they work with these processes that use algorithms to make calculations that are projections, and it's, you think, well, you know, there's a 60% chance of rain tomorrow in the southern states. That's stochastic languaging, and it saturates our culture. It saturates the way that we think about things now. Everything from economics and from insurance policies and medical risks and, you know, side effects from pharmaceuticals and the behavior of subatomic particles. This journey into a totally unpredictable realm of activities. So we use those processes, and the key to making sense of this swirling field of information are the applications in series of very specific algorithms. These are calculation techniques. These are ways to search through the behaviors of all of this information and keep searching and searching and extract patterns. Not only patterns, but patterns that pronounce themselves in a significant way. And it's all about repetitions and repetitions and repetitions, and even findings that are then put aside and then processed again I'm speaking in vague terms because it's a very elaborate mathematical process. But what it does is it works at identifying certain patterns of behavior. And these patterns of behavior then point forward to these significant probabilities. They let you know where you should be looking and what you should be investigating more clearly. Of course, we have a triune correspondence involved there. The horse hasn't crossed the finish line yet, but the whole pack has been analyzed, and you can see things that you never saw before, and you're in a position to make evaluations, to make assessments, to prepare to take actions that you had no basis for before. So that's the, oh, I don't know. I hope it's interesting to you. It's totally fascinating to me because it isn't just how these programs work. In honesty, it's how life works. It's how stuff happens. So it's not as though, you know, we're so ingenious that we've figured out a totally new and different way of thinking about behavior. What we're doing is our very best to recognize behavior for what it is and to pattern our designs and our tools after that. It's a term that is not here in the presentation on screen, but the term is biophilic. Biophilia, a term coined by a brilliant naturalist and biologist. Bio means life, and philia is attraction or love. It's the opposite of phobia, right? Biophobia would be a fear or an aversion to life. Biophilia is an attraction, a natural bond, an affection, a love, you could say, of life. So what we have here is we have biophilic technology. This is technology that is supportive of life. It's patterned after life. It loves life. The very first product that Possibility Wave is proudly bringing to you, the first information coded biofeedback product, is called Adapt Wellness. Remember that every one of our products are focused in a certain task domain, and here we're focusing not only on wellness, but specifically on the issue of adaptation. So as the name implies, this tool is directed towards the assessment, the analysis, and the reinforcement of the core functions of the organism. There are so many brilliant people that can be quoted along this topic. I've chosen one by Charles Darwin here. You know, he's probably the most influential and misquoted person in the past 100, 150 years. The quote, "It is not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change." So, you know, misquotes, misunderstandings like, you know, only the strongest survive and so on. No, Darwin, in his maturing thinking throughout his lifetime, came to a very profound understanding that it was the ability to be responsive to change that was the best insurance of survival. Not that you were the strongest and the toughest, not that you were even the smartest, but you had the most efficient response to change. So in adaptive wellness, it's the adaptive capacity of the organism that we target. This is the bullseye of this information coded biofeedback tool, adaptive capacity. And what is adaptive capacity? It's the ability to respond, and this is important, in a positive way to the unending changes and challenges of life. Adaptive capacity. This tool, called Adapt Wellness, by the way, it's an acronym, ADAPT, Advanced Dynamic Adaptive Potential Testing, but we'll just call it ADAPT. It's designed specifically to assess the adaptive capacity of an individual, to analyze the functional dynamics that are at play that allows them to have strengths and weaknesses, because everybody has strengths and weaknesses, to analyze these dynamics within their adaptive capacity. And very importantly, we supply tools to reinforce the adaptive capacity of a person, whole sets of very specific signal stimulations. I'll mention more about that in a while. So Adapt Wellness focuses on the adaptive capacity. It's a wellness process. I think perhaps maybe the most fundamental of all the wellness considerations is the adaptive capacity, which is why we've chosen this as the launch tool for Possibility Wave. The design of this program is positive. It is not negative. It does not focus on negative pathological concepts. It's not a disease-oriented program. It doesn't scare the bazookas off of a person with all of these very dramatic terms and concepts. We don't go looking for that. We go looking for all of the aspects within the person, within the organism, that allow them to be positively responsive to changes and challenges, which, let's face it, the play on words is the only constant is change. We know that. You know, whether it's a change in seasons, a change in age, a change in stress levels, a change in tasks and duties, the mom who can't sleep at night with a new baby, the new job, the flu virus that you caught, the jet lag, on and on and on. It's all a reflection of one's adaptive capacity. I'm very proud of this next aspect of Adapt Wellness. It's one program, but actually there are 3 different versions within it. You can see the names here if you're looking at the screen. One is called the guided version. Another is called the one-click version. And then the third and last is the custom version. So let's have a look at what that means. The guided version is like having a seasoned wellness consultant assisting you in the process. Not just the guided version, frankly, but all of Adapt Wellness has been designed on a very consistent, very reasonable, rational, inherent logic. It doesn't just give you this stuff and go for it. It proceeds sequentially in a fashion that is very logical and has been recognized for a long time by matured practitioners in wellness therapies. One thing does lead to another, and the process proceeds like that. In the guided version, you're not restricted, but you're given recommendations and short lists of actions. As the information comes forward and emerges, you're given the chance to make considerations within a very tight set of significant probabilities. And the way it's designed, what one thing leads to another, the information that emerges from these different assessment processes gives you the chance to analyze this in such a way it's as though you have a very seasoned wellness consultant sitting right next to you in the process. The guided version to me is very exciting because it anticipates the concepts, it recognizes the wisdom that's preceded us in a lot of other practitioners. One-click version, well, it kind of is what it says. It's a completely automated process. You go choose it, you go click, and it goes through and then through and then through the calibration processes, the calculation processes, the assessments, the analyses, through the recommendations, right down and into choosing the specific signal reinforcements waiting for you in the hold tray, is all done in one cascade. I don't know, in my mind, there are like two kinds of uses for this, and they may seem like extremes. One is a professional, perhaps even a seasoned professional, that has time constraints. The day is too busy, the schedule is jammed, they need to do something quite rapidly, they're familiar enough with the program, boom, they go. The other would be that sincere novice who's at an earlier stage in their practice. Somebody that is limited in their learning and training at that point, or maybe even a very sincere amateur or home personal practitioner that wants to use this, but doesn't really have some of the languaging in their experience that a professional can have. Professional, semi-professional, sincere, novice, personal user. Adapt Wellness gives you choices, and one of those choices is this one-click version. The custom version, well, it's kind of what it says. There are practitioners that really have their own style. They have a lot of experience, and they want to use aspects of wellness. They want to focus on the Adapt Wellness program as a resource and use it in a manner that is suited to their own style. The custom version allows you to do that. You can go here and there in the program, use the features that you want, and then meld them with your own decision making. So you've got three choices: the guided version, the one-click version, and the custom version. Let's talk a little bit more about adaptive capacity, because in Adapt Wellness, we analyze it in two ways. One we call the adaptive potential, and the other is the adaptive reserve. So if you did it as like a little arithmetic formula, adaptive potential plus adaptive reserve equals adaptive capacity. You'll be pleased because the results of these assessments and this analysis is presented in very simple numeric percentages. You can easily get some sense of relativity to the whole thing. What's adaptive potential? It's the measure of the ability of the organism to respond to change and challenge in the short term. So adaptive potential, it's that famous minutes to about 48 hours, that short-term response. Hans Selye was remarkable in his analysis of the different stages of response and distress and so on, and this in many ways follows that kind of profile. Adaptive reserve, you may have guessed this already, it's the ability to respond to change and challenge in the long term, and the long term goes on past the days, weeks, months, and perhaps even years. So adaptive potential is the short term. Adaptive reserve is the long term. Depending on your education, your philosophical orientation in wellness, it's reasonable to compare adaptive potential to the concept of Qi and adaptive reserve to the concept of Jing. Now, I'm not claiming that they're exactly the same, but it's close enough to draw parallels. So that ability of Qi to act, to orient and share and allocate energetic responses. And then the concept of Jing, that long-term aspect. And the three treasures, of course, Shen, Qi, and Jing. This focuses on two of the three treasures. Shen is oftentimes translated as spirit. There's really no way of capturing what it means. My dear friend and great mind, Ron Teagarden, says it's like a candle. The wax amount and quality is like the Jing. The flame, the fire is like the Qi, and the light that emanates from it is the Shen. Anyway, in this case, I would say it's an interesting concept to explore, some parallel. As we go through assessing the core and the zone aspects, we end up with these functional considerations. These are all positive action-oriented findings that you as a practitioner can consider in the courses of action to support and reinforce the adaptive capacity of the person. These functional considerations are all positive, they're all proactive, they're all described in such a way that regardless of your practice style, including working completely within Adapt Wellness, you don't have to have any other therapeutic modality if you like. You can stay right here in Adapt, or you can use it in relation to your homeopathy, to your acupuncture, to your yoga therapy, to your life coaching, to your medical pharmaceuticals, whatever it is that you do, this can work and fit with that. The point I've made just now. These functional considerations can be directly interpreted to apply within the scope of practice that is your comfort zone. All of these different steps and stages can be converted into signal stimulations, as well as a big, what I'll call kind of final category of specific adaptive reinforcements. There are so many ways that you can bring out from this process, from these functional considerations, decision points, remembering these are all significant probabilities leading to the certainty of your final action and the certainty of the final response. Specific adaptive reinforcements. These are all signal-based stimulations that are applied therapeutically to the client within the structure of the session. So in the beginning I said that there's an assessment aspect, there's an analysis aspect, and there's a reinforcement aspect to Adapt Wellness. Here's a description in simplicity of the fact that we have these specific adaptive reinforcements. These are things that you can give, you can do for, with your client as part of your session. So there isn't just information finding, there isn't just the evolution forward of modes of action, therapeutic concepts, but there's also the ability to apply therapeutically these specific adaptive reinforcements, these signal-based stimulations. In version 1 of Adapt, these signal stimulations are delivered in two ways. One is what we call sonic signatures via headphones. It's well known that modulated sounds, the frequencies, the patterns have a profound effect upon the individual, and that they can convey a wealth of information. And we use that. It's a very simple and very lovely, very attractive way to deliver these signal stimulations. And also, of course, we have the vibrational signatures that are delivered via the eye field of the client. This is the action that takes place purely at the information level. We will have upcoming versions of Adapt Wellness, and there will be other delivery methods. You can expect things like the pulse magnetics and pulse photonics and other delivery modes that are more overt, energetic aspects, so that the information is being delivered through energetic processes. The energy is kind of the horse, and the rider is the information. This is a big, big issue in my mind, and certainly applies heavily to information coded biofeedback. The fact is that there is no one single session that can give you the full picture of a client. And also, the whole adaptation response in and of itself by its nature is progressive over time. So Adapt Wellness has a highly efficient pattern recognition feature. It tracks the key findings of that same person from session to session to session. There are so many approaches, and I've been a significant part of some of them over these past years, where it's almost as though one session doesn't have any connection to the next session. It's like it never happened. That does not happen with Adapt Wellness. The key findings are recorded and analyzed in such a way that you have the ability in very dramatic graphic form to see the trends, the patterns, the inclinations of the findings and the responses. That is a remarkable feature in my mind. And wonderfully, these patterns are presented in dramatic graphic forms, making it very simple to see what's happening with this person over time as you do the sessions. And by the way, in Adapt Wellness, there's a wonderful feature. It's the session overview, where at any point in time, wherever you are, whatever you've done in the session, you can hit one button choice, and you'll be presented a screen that shows you everything that has evolved forward with significance to that point. Every action that's taken place, every finding, every choice you've made, it's right there for you. And as you could imagine, in the end, it's a superb reference for the session as a whole that you can always go back to at any time. It'll be there in your record base, along with this pattern recognition feature. All of this has been designed for people according to the way that seasoned practitioners conduct their wellness sessions, their wellness processes. Okay. Well, the hour has flown by. There'll be many opportunities in the future for more sharing. I look forward to it, sincerely. If you'd like to get connected with Possibility Wave and find out more about all of our information-coded biofeedback tools, including the new Adapt Wellness program, you just go to possibilitywave.com and you'll be given an easy way to get connected and stay connected to everything that we're doing. Possibility Wave has a beautiful lineup of information-coded biofeedback tools that'll be coming to you in steps and stages throughout the upcoming months. And also, we very much look forward to what you feel, what you think, what you like, what you want. We're responsive to that. You're heartily welcome to make a connection, stay in touch. Possibility Wave. Thank you all. It's been a real pleasure. You take care. And until next time, this is Garnet Dupuis and Possibility Wave saying bye-bye from the rainforest.